A lot to get into in this hour, but first we get to bring in Storm Boen, who is the founder of Cigars for Warriors, a nonprofit organization that's here in town, based here in Lubbock, but is really, I want to say it's more of an international organization because, well, they send cigars overseas for troops. And Storm, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Great, man. Thanks for letting me be here. I enjoy the show every day.
I appreciate it. And, of course, you just got back in town. You travel to a lot of cigar rallies and or cigar events and different rallies around the U.S., really doing some great stuff for our troops overseas.
Yeah, we travel everything from cigar festivals to bike rallies to about everything. We do music festivals. I even did a marathon once. And, you know, we're a national-based charity, meaning we have volunteers all over the United States. We're hitting around 350 volunteers. Right. So it is a national effort for such an anti-politically correct charity. And it's gone nuts. It's been pretty fun ride for the last 4.5 years.
How did you come up with the idea for Cigars for Warriors?
Well, there was about 7 of us that started Cigars for Warriors. Originally, there was an initial charity called, I call it a charity, that's a very bad term, but it was called Cigars for Troops. And the guy that was running it, I volunteered to start helping him out. And I brought some other friends of mine in that were in the military that we all had a lot of the same experiences. And the guy, you know, sadly turned out to be a little bit less than honorable. Kind of find out he was claiming to be a Navy SEALs commander, and we just always figured he was a cook, but he still was in the Navy. And it come to find out he never even served, and then we started digging even further and found out he didn't even. We're not sure outside of maybe 1 or 2 packages ever got overseas. And the mission was so beautiful that we decided to try to do it on our own. But we had some guidelines. We wanted to do it by the book, go hard, go fast, and do it right, and be very, very transparent. That was a big thing of ours. There's so many charities that have great missions that are not transparent. You kind of find out years later that half a cent, like for Wounded Warriors, half a cent's going to the actual troops. 88, you know, depending on which report you read, 86 to 88 cents is going to salaries. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to be very open and transparent where everybody knew where their dollar or their cigar was going. And, you know, where it really started from is me and our treasurer, who is, you know, sadly has passed. We're talking about our past experiences in the military and what a cigar meant to us while we were deployed. And my wife would send me cigars on a random basis, and, you know, there wasn't a lot of them, so I'd pull them out on more special occasions. And I use that term loosely. It's usually a very bad day would happen, and we'd pull them out. Now, I probably didn't do the proper thing, but I would make all my guys smoke a cigar, whether they wanted to or not. But it was better than running in different corners of the compound. And there were so many suicides, especially during the invasion, that it became, you know, a leader's responsibility, morale. And I remember doing crisis management debriefings and hostage negotiation debriefings for my civilian job at the time, and realized the first step to any bad situations is get the guys involved and let them talk about their personal demons. And so I would pull my rank off and let them, for the next hour to 2 hours, just vent. Mm-hmm. And I was just sharing that experience to, you know, Ben one day, and we started doing all this. And that's really how it started. And there were 7 of us that co-founded Operation Cigars for Warriors. We did our state NPO, which is filed out of Florida. And then we, of course, right after that, we did our 501c3. We're the only 501c3 of its kind that sends in, you know, our mission is we send the number 1, and I repeat that, the number 1 requested item to our deployed troops, which is a premium cigar. Now, we do send some other things, but they're extras. We send a little coffee. We send tens of thousands of magazines, you know, shirts, hats, stuff like that. Cutters, lots of cutters and lighters, lots of cedar spills. And if you don't know what a cedar spill is, that's something, you know, old school traditional how to light a cigar, use a cedar spill. But we're very proud of it. So It started out, funny conversation always people like to know about is when you start out, what was your first year goal? And that's very important when you start out anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm always a believer of doing a slightly impossible goal. And so I told the guys, let's do 800 cigars this year. And they all looked at me like I was insane. And I say looked at me, we're over doing video chat, so it wasn't like a face-to-face because we're all over the country. And it come down that the public support was so huge that we ended up sending 92,000 cigars the first year.
Wow.
And another very important distinction is that it's all requested. We never randomly send our products to just randomly send them out. It's all 100% requested. So the troops have their own responsibilities. They have to get a hold of us, which they go to our website, which is cigarsforwarriors.org. And that's how they go there, and they send a request. And if they're in the appropriate areas, then we send it. And when I say appropriate areas, that's combat zones is first priority. And the United States goes back and forth whether Africa is a combat zone or not. But if you got to go to a country and come back and get quarantined, you get a damn cigar.
Is that a combat area at that point?
So for us, we always make it a combat zone. And then the second priority is long-term deployments and long-term floats. And for the guys who don't know what a float is, that's usually the Navy, and a lot of Marines do floats, and that's 3 to 6 months on a ship. And I did 2 weeks on a carrier, and that was long enough for me, and realized that if you're doing 3 to 6 months, you certainly get a cigar. Mm-hmm. One of the funny things is that the Navy's been real big about is no more cigars on ships. Yet we're still sending them, and we're still getting great photos of the whole crew on top of the deck with the commander in front, all, big sign with Cigars for Warriors, thank you, and all smoking cigars. So it's one of those rules that pretty much get ignored.
It's a rule, but
yeah.
So 92,000 cigars the first year.
Correct.
How many years have you been doing Cigars for Warriors?
We officially started in May of 2012. Now we started sending cigars a little bit before that, but that's when we actually signed our bylaws and said this is going to be our anniversary date. And since then, I actually talked to our chief operating officer, which is Robert Allen in Florida, which is where every single cigar goes to. And we have shipped out over 750,000 cigars since September 1st. That's 750,000 cigars. And if you think about how many cigars that is, it's insane. I remember my first humidor I bought here in Lubbock, Texas, at Heroes and Legacies. Spent about 3 weeks shopping for it and spent a lot more money than I had any business doing. And it was a 20 count. And I remember riding home with my wife going, who in the world has more than 20 cigars?
Right. I think everyone does that with their first humidor, because I did the same thing. When I got my first humidor, I'm like, oh, I'll never fill this. And it was a 20-count humidor. And I'm like, I'll never have more than this. And, now I've got a pretty large humidor, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I wonder if I'm ever going to fill this up.
Right.
Which eventually it'll happen.
And that's basically what happened to me. I got what I call the cigar fever. I stopped spending money on things that, anything else, and that's what I spend my money on, cigars. And it's, I got a collector side, and I got my smoking side, and I got cigars that people giving me, and and I love supporting events. Even if it's a cigar that I normally wouldn't smoke, I usually support the vendors and the shops that support us, and I'll buy a box. And I realize if I don't like them, then I'll give them out to my buddies, or I'll send them straight to Cigars for Warriors.
Yeah. And let's say you get a request, how many cigars does each, I guess, person overseas get, or does that depend?
It really does depend. Right now, we are literally in discussions of, because of the big FDA overreach that's happened recently, we were doing about 50 cigars a package, which is a phenomenal amount of cigars. And we're probably going to drop down to 40, maybe worst case 35. And that's just because we're watching our, we had a little surplus. We were doing so good before this August 8th Demon came out that we were actually talking about, we have another priority mission, which is in the States of guys, men and women about to leave or men and women about to come back. We would serve. And we've had to take that off the table.
So what did the FDA regulation do to Cigars for Warriors?
So what happens at FDA regulation happened August 8th, they put out, it's called a deeming. Basically, it's about a 500-page series of what they can or cannot do. Now, the deeming per se does not have anything to do about charities. But what it did, it put premium cigars under FDA oversight, which made it retroactively back to the tobacco policy of 2009 that states no tobacco company can donate to charities, which was buried so deep that a lot of tobacco companies pretty much ignored it. The only penalty really there is that they get a slap in the hand, a cease and desist letter. Problem is the cigar industry is made of small business. It is a true small business organization. They're artisans. They're retailers that are small business. And it's not like they got lawyers on staff like Big Tobacco does. So they're all following it by the letter. And that basically dried up 40% of our donations that came from manufacturers. And so the other 60% we rely on the public. We have almost 400 donation centers all over the United States. Most of them, of course, are cigar shops, but we have barber shops. We have a radio station in Pennsylvania that all their staff monthly collect cigars and send them to us. We have adult entertainment places. We have VFWs. We have a couple of Mason lodges. We have one Elks Lodge. We have a lot of local biker communities and lots of cigar clubs and lots of tattoo parlors and barber shops. So we even have an aquarium shop. The lady actually told me she despises everything to do about tobacco, but she loves the troops even more. And if they want a cigar, then by God, she's going to get them a cigar. So that's where the public supports come in. And like I said, it's a real anti-politically correct charity, but we've had a amazing public support, not just tobacco guys that like tobacco, but others.
Can you hang around one more segment?
Sorry?
Hanging around one more segment?
Sure.
All right. When we come back, we'll finish up our conversation with Storm. Cigars for Warriors. We'll tell you more when we come back. All right. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. Storm Boen, Cigars for Warriors in studio. And Storm, we were talking about the FDA regulations and that the FDA regulations that have kicked in have taken I guess have forced some of the distributors to not give anymore, right? They can't. I mean, they just can't do it.
Correct. It's the whole FDA deeming has become, as a lot of people have said, as FDA has become the new IRS of the '80s, and they're just literally overreaching every aspect. Instead of taking care of really important things, they're just going after things that they shouldn't be going after. And when you're talking about the cigar industry, that's a true artisan community. It's a small community, and it's been around since the beginning of the United States. And now they've just decided which is, I always think it's kind of humorous, it's the fact that the bills and the big push is coming from Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds, which is Big Tobacco. And they came pretty much after the vaping community, and the last minute they just threw cigars.
Yeah.
And so this deeming came about, and, it used to be a cigar rep could walk into a cigar shop where guys are already smoking cigars, all over 21, and hand them a cigar. Well, the whole premise of this is that it was pushing the kids to smoke a cigar. And I don't know about you, Chad, but I tried cigarettes when I was a kid, and that was cool, but when I tried a cigar, I was sick for a week, and I swear I never touched another cigar.
Well, you
again.
don't see a lot of 10-year-olds walking in a cigar store lighting up a cigar.
Yeah, and every cigar shop I've ever been into, they're pretty anal. If you even remotely look like you're 21 years old or younger, they're carding you.
Yeah.
They've been that way since the beginning of time. One is your regulars don't want kids in there.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much was a non-issue that they made to a BS issue.
But you do have members of Congress who are trying to work on that, right?
Correct. We had Congresswoman Castor out of Florida was the first one, and she got all the media, the articles. She wrote pretty good things about us and other charities, and then Military Times got on board, and Eric Hunter out of California. He's a Democrat, I believe. He got on board, and there's been about 5 others that recently got on board. I've talked to either them or their office, and they're going to introduce a exception to the policy for military donations only, which is a good thing. When you're telling a soldier or a Marine or an airman that they can't have a cigar, that they're one of their rights of a legal product they can't have while they're fighting for your rights, is to me absurd. Yeah. As a former vet myself, it angers me to no end. And then to say I personally can't give from a vet to another vet, it angers me even more. The nice thing is that they can't touch the charity. They can definitely turn down every single grant that we put in for. Yeah. But they haven't done that. So there's been a lot of great outcry. We've had lobbyists jump on board and create an umbrella for us. Drew Estate and Swisher International has graciously loaned us their lawyers for anything we need, which is huge because, at the end of the day, we live on a shoestring budget.
Right.
We're shipping out literally, even to this day, we're still shipping out 25 to 30,000 cigars every single month on a completely volunteer program.
That's great. You do have a big fundraiser, but it's later in the year, big fundraiser, Cats Fest.
Yeah, that's our biggest fundraiser of the year. It's a 3-day insane cigar festival in San Antonio. It's a beautiful area. We have a whole rodeo venue, and we have a Cigars for Warriors pro road in the middle of it. It's pretty much everything you don't think of a cigar festival. You're in it, but it truly is our number one fundraiser of the year. Number 2 being the Rock and Ride out of Corpus Christi. And, we raised this year alone almost 19,000 cigars and almost 15,000 in cash. So it was very successful, and everybody loved it, had a phenomenal time.
That's great. Where can people find out more information about Cigars for Warriors?
Very easy. Just go to cigarsforwarriors.org as a website. That's where you can find out how to donate, how to become a volunteer, and you can go to Facebook or Instagram and any of the social media and find us.
Yep, and donation centers located at Smokers Haven here in Lubbock, and also the Noah Guy Cigar Lounge, so people can donate cigars.
Correct. Thank you.
Storm, thanks for stopping by, man.
Perfect. Thanks, Chad. I love being here.
Appreciate it. Good to see you.